Okay, so hi, Quentin.
Hello, hello. How are you?
You're calling all the way from Austin in Texas, is that right?
I sure am. Lovely rainy day here, actually.
So anyway, if you could just, for the sake of our viewers, introduce yourself and the company that you work for briefly, that would be great.
Absolutely. My name is Quentin Montalto. I am the COO of ShipperHQ, formerly Web Shop Apps. We've been around since about 2008. We're all about the cart and checkout shipping experience for customers on platforms such as Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, Woo. We make complicated business logic very simple for your customers on the front end.
Perfect. And just for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Sarah Wilcox. I'm the owner and CEO of Screen Pages Limited. We're a Magento solution partner, and we specialize in building fast, reliable, secure, mobile-first websites for merchants in lifestyle, fashion, and B2B.
And one of the best to do it.
Oh, thank you. I'll pay you later. Um, so what we were going to talk about today for our viewers was we really want to understand a little bit more about your offline to on initiative that you're running, and then what merchants who are already online can do to help service their customers with additional fulfillment requirements and things like this in these difficult times. And then just some basic questions about how you can set up fulfillment and things like that.
Absolutely.
You've probably got some questions for me as well, so we'll make this pretty iterative and see how we go. So can we just start by asking you to give us a brief description of what offline to on means and why you're involved in that initiative?
Absolutely. I think offline to on is one of the most exciting things that we're doing at ShipperHQ kind of right now. We split out part of the team of the core ShipperHQ team to really focus on that. So offline to on was this idea that Karen, our CEO and founder, had a few weeks ago whenever the news started coming out about, restrictive things. Some of the locals that we would go to, the restaurants we would go have meetings at, the breweries that we would go, take clients to, or we'd go have leadership meetings at, they started to have to close down. And we were really worried about how these customers that have, only brick and mortar, how could they shop online? And, Karen put some tweets out, and then a lot of other really smart people in the ecosystem did as well. Kelly Vaughn, Darren Lynch, Deb, there's too many to name, Alan McGregor. And, we started the Slack group and it had, 20 people in it. And then when I checked yesterday, there was almost 1,200 people that are in this. So it's all about, helping out these merchants that can't, sell online yet. It's a free service that we're doing for customers. There's three different sort of things that we're doing. One of them is getting you online as fast as possible. So a brick and mortar shop that's never sold online before, we're working with best in breed partners and platforms to help get them online as fast as we can. We're also doing a site audit as well. Hey, maybe your site's not working the way you're expecting it to. We'll help with that. And then we also have a marketing thing, help them get it set up on social, check their, make sure that they're not cannibalizing themselves in their tags. These are all things that, for us, we can't, go work on the front lines at a hospital, but what we can do and what we're doing together as a group in this initiative is that we're working together to try to help these merchants the best we can. And that's to help shop online. And it's definitely an amazing community effort that we're very happy to be a part of.
Okay, so I'm sorry to say this actually, Quentin, but I lost a little bit of what you were saying there just because there's sound. But I'm hoping that everybody else heard it. Can you still hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, all right, good. So
if they didn't, offline to on.com, the number 2, not the word.
So yeah. So one of the other things that has been coming up a lot with some of our merchants is that basically we've seen, depending on what vertical they're in, we've seen some merchants see a huge increase in demand for fulfillment. So they already are using ShipperHQ, which we recommend to all of our merchants, but they're struggling in how to sort of get these orders out of the door fast enough. So that's more applicable to merchants who are already using your software. So you got any sort of best practice recommendations there for what they can do with your software to kind of ease the load a little bit?
Absolutely. So I can talk about how you can use it in ShipperHQ, and then another way that you can use these tips anyways. If you want to use ShipperHQ, we're doing a free 90-day trial for customers that are coming in. So use us. But if not, one of the things, it's all about transparency right now with customers. When is the product going to arrive? Letting the customer know that, hey, we are behind 2 weeks. We can't fulfill these orders yet. Like giving them that transparency, whether that's doing a shipperhq.com/COVID-19 update page where it says, hey, we're now 5 days behind on orders. We're now 7 days behind on orders. That's a great way that you can do that without using ShipperHQ. Using ShipperHQ, we have fantastic date and time logic that allows you to set lead days on products so that you have transparency in the checkout so you can see when the items are actually going to arrive. We always call it kind of the Amazon style, where it says this item arrives on April 7th. This item arrives on this day. You have the ability to push those days out back past how long it's going to take you to fulfill. But it really comes down to transparency. You don't need ShipperHQ to get to that complexity. People are putting date ranges in on their shipping methods. Instead of just saying, Royal Mail standard delivery, they're saying standard delivery, 7 to 9 days. Just so as a customer, if you're sitting at home all day, all you're going to do is wait for your package. So the better you can give them that, the better the customer's experience is going to be, and the better your warehouse is going to feel as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's important that you sort of communicate that throughout the website, not just when they get to the checkout.
Absolutely. And what verticals are you guys seeing kind of thriving right now? I'm curious, kind of from an agency perspective.
So, I don't think this is any surprise, but groceries, online groceries, anything to do with food and homewares, products that people can actually keep themselves busy with at home in these times of quarantining. And then it's really interesting because we sort of half expected to see a drop also in certain lifestyle products. But after an initial sort of very short-term drop of about a week, and I'm talking about products like golf carts, scooters for kids, things like that, we're seeing that that's stabilized and it's par on par with how it was last year. So whilst you would you would expect a bit of growth, but it hasn't. So it hasn't grown, but it hasn't shrunk. So verticals where we've seen orders shrinking dramatically are mainly holiday clothing. So bikinis, swimwear, anything that you would only buy for travel.
That makes sense. It's interesting. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. We're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Although people are pretty resourceful, and we're expecting a heat wave here in the UK next week, so I fully expect to be wearing my bikini in the garden.
I was going to say, yeah, you can find a place to lay out, get some sun.
Exactly. So it'd be interesting to see whether that corrects itself as well. We've just seen a report out from another company that we work with, Nosto, who have seen actually a rise in the purchase of clothing in the most recent few days. So it'd be really interesting to see. And like with COVID-19, we're not really going to know what happened until all of this is past us. It's interesting times. It's pretty unpredictable, but there are some pretty positive signs out there for most online merchants. So as long as we can keep businesses going and service customers, we're providing an essential service, really, because
absolutely
people want to limit how many times they go in store, and they can't go in store for certain types of goods. So
that's a big thing that we're doing here in the States, is that curbside is still a big for us here. And, giving the ability for customers that maybe can't, deliver, or people that, rely on a lot of foot traffic coming into their stores. We gave all existing customers of ShipperHQ, free store pickup. And we told anyone that came into the website, hey, you can have this for free. For that exact reason. We feel like, we're not, like I said, we're not on the front lines, helping hospitals, but, we're helping merchants, and we're helping revenue, and we're helping communities. And, that's really the thing that, we are technologists, and, with technology, we can, do our part.
Yeah. So free pickup's an interesting one, because we've got an initiative running for very small merchants. Well, we've actually got two initiatives. One is for very small merchants who've never traded online, who want to just get online quickly. And we're offering a very cheap turnkey solution for that, where we'll
That's amazing.
set you up with will import your products, so so that you can, if for example you're a restaurant and instead of, obviously people can't eat in your restaurant, but you want to do takeaway and you've never done that before, we can help you with that. Similarly, if you sell beauty products and you don't have an online presence, there are a lot of beauty salons and people are having to sort of, I think we're going to find out what everybody's real hair color is very soon. So we have a solution for that. But, one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, how do I even start setting up, logistically that, so I don't have a delivery network. People can come and pick things up, but if they don't want to pick things up, is there a very simple way and quick way that I can get my products delivered? Have you got any hints and tips in that respect?
Yeah, this is a question that's come up a lot here, stateside and especially internationally as well. From a lot of different countries. The first thing that we always say is you want to pick a partner. We're not just picking someone to move your packages. It's worth doing some research. I know, for example, Royal Mail is doing a fantastic job with their staff, with delivering their products and making sure that they are, giving the best service that they can under the circumstances. I know that Royal Mail has never went down, and they work very, very closely with the UK government, and it's a great, suggestion to look at. It's really important to pick them, and then also look at the shipping methods, because right now in the time that we're in, there's some shipping methods that aren't really worth showing to customers. For example, a signature required method is no longer being enforced. What Royal Mail is doing is they're delivering it to the package. So they're not actually giving you handover, hey, sign this, pass it back to me. They're trying to get that 6 feet and try to reduce contact. So that's a method I might not recommend suggesting. Also, time-sensitive methods as well aren't being as followed just because of the sheer volume and the strain that they're under. So generally there's, delivery by 9 a.m. They can't guarantee that method anymore. So it's not worth charging that to your customer because it's a friction point when we're charging for shipping. So what I would do is I would definitely make sure to go to they have a fantastic landing page where they update their shipping, strategies. I would also look at the lanes where they can and cannot ship to. I would definitely say start local, master that, and move internationally, because internationally right now there are certain countries that are not accepting packages from certain destinations. And that's really worth looking at, because the last thing you want to do getting into your endeavor is sell, a high priced item, send it to a country, they reject the package, it gets lost in transit for 4 months, and then it comes back to you chewed up with, half the stuff missing in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really tricky. And where can you get that kind of advice from? Would you happen to know? Because, it's a minefield knowing who's accepting what goods. I heard, for example, last week that a country called Qatar in the Middle East is banning all products being imported, all food products being imported from Italy.
Yeah, people are working in extremes right now, definitely. I look at the carriers' pages. So Royal Mail is a fantastic COVID-19 information page with update for domestic and international. The international one, it outlines which countries not to ship to. If they're leveraging screen pages or Magento, they could very easily say, hey, let's not show these countries and the country drop down. This also comes into what I mentioned before about doing, a COVID-19 FAQ page. It's really important to make sure that those people aren't alienated right now. And just saying, hey, we cannot ship to this destination from England right now. Check us here for updates.
Yes, actually, that's really important, because we're recommending to a lot of merchants that they do some email marketing or digital marketing around the COVID-19 changes in service. Similarly, where we have clients who can no longer fulfill in certain geographical territories, we're telling them to perhaps explore other territories in the meantime that are still accepting imports from their country, and so on. But yeah, it changes all the time. So
it's definitely one of the things that it's worth keeping your eye on, and it's really worth having your finger on the pulse, because the last thing you want to do, especially right now, is maybe lose a 600-700 pound order, or even a 100-pound order or a 50-pound order. If selling online is a bit tricky, so it's really worth partnering with someone to make sure that they have your best interest in mind. working with screen pages and, Magento, the pairing of that is fantastic because, there's a steward there and screen pages to really kind of bring them across the line and make sure that they, they have a home there. For people that, in other countries and things like that, the offline to on is really about, bringing them to this in a constructive way so they don't fall flat on their face.
Yeah, so actually, one of the things that I don't know if you heard, but it was announced by Adobe, the company that owns Magento, this week, in that they're also offering for certain small businesses 90 days, the first 90 days free for their Magento Commerce Cloud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, only for very small businesses in an attempt to help them get through these particular difficult times. So that was just announced recently.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so there's solutions for very, very small merchants on open source and entry level platforms. And then there's also some of the larger companies are also aware that there are merchants out there that are having to sort of take out business continuity loans and so on, just to get through this particular period if they've seen a dip in trading. So yeah, everybody's trying to do their bit in the e-commerce industry, I've noticed, which is really encouraging. The other thing is what we have here in the UK, I don't know if you have any of that in the US, is that we all like to stand on our doorsteps at 8 o'clock at night and applaud the NHS. Does anybody do that in America? Of course, but is there recognition for all the health workers over there?
Absolutely. So I actually come from a family of health workers. I'm one of the so it's all the children, all my parents' children's, or we're all the outliers, except for my little sister who's in nursing school right now. But there's a lot of things that are happening here. There's definitely cities where people are clapping on their balcony and they're showing, resounding applause. I think we're really taking a page out of Italy and Spain's book about that. People are singing on their balconies, which is amazing. No, I haven't started that yet in Austin. I'm very tone deaf, and I think people are going to think I'm dying of something. So I've not been the catalyst there. But there's fantastic companies that are giving coffee to the first responders on the line. They're not just the nurses, doctors. It's the respiratory therapists. The cleaning staff. For example, a cleaning staff in a COVID hot room has to clean the room for 2 hours. It's what we're doing from is Starbucks is giving them free coffee. Crocs is giving them free shoes. It's really amazing that all these companies are doing what they can to give, to make sure that, these people that are, risking, their lives and their time and their money, and they're working, 20-hour days. It's just trying to make it, as soon as they come off work, they can go home, go to sleep, relax a little bit, drink some coffee, have a minute, because they're going to wake up and do the whole thing over again. And
just know that everybody else is thinking about them. So
absolutely.
I think we're discovering in these tricky times who the real key workers are.
Absolutely.
Delivery people, the healthcare people, all the people that keep society going.
It definitely shows you that, kind of who the lifeblood of the country is. It really shows you kind of the veins that are, really coming into that. And, it just helps, there's people that are, doing all these things, and it's about that. And one of the things I was curious about when we last spoke, changing the subject, is website queuing that you guys are doing in the UK, because we don't have that in the US really. So I'm curious to kind of, because it was one of the things that you mentioned. Can you go over that?
Yeah, I'll explain it to you briefly. So basically, what we saw is a massive surge in the UK for certain types of groceries. And we're quite well advanced in the UK in terms of doing online shopping.
Very much so.
We have all the big supermarkets who offer delivery services, and then we have independents who also sell the products from those supermarkets who offer delivery services. And they've been absolutely inundated. And so in some instances, some of them, their sites were taken down because they just couldn't cope with the volumes. It's started to level out now, fortunately, but a few of them still have what's called queuing software in front of the website, so that if you're a registered customer, you have to go into a queue. If you're not a registered customer, they're currently prioritizing registered customers. So the queuing system can be set up in any which way you want, but the main reason they have it is not so much because they weren't able to service the sheer number of visits. It was more a fulfillment issue. So they were having all of these people filling their baskets and then not being able to select a delivery date, which just made them even more frustrated. So it's very easy. We've done queuing. It's like a holding page. It recognizes you, obviously, if you visited the site before, and it gives you typically what people do is they say you're this number in the queue and this is how long you'll have to wait. But also there's some friendly messaging in there from a lot of the supermarkets, which in the UK they're prioritizing the over 70s. So they're saying we're going to give the delivery slots first to people who are at risk.
Love it.
And underlying health conditions. And then everybody else can get in line. Because if you're fit and healthy, you can go to the supermarket. I mean, the supermarkets, the physical supermarkets, you know, that have actually got all these sort of social distancing measures in place where they sort of put the, you know, checkout people behind plastic screens, and they encourage people to use contactless payment methods and things like that. So yeah, I don't see it lasting forever, but it's certainly a very, very good short-term way of ensuring that you're, you know, able to service some of your customers at least, and make the other customers understand that you're just trying to do the best job you can, and that they'll get their chance eventually.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely interesting. The queuing system isn't something I've really seen on sites yet, but like you mentioned before, the UK, you guys have really, you know, the way that you guys have really taken the click and collect, and the way that you guys have, you know, you're a much more mature market. You know, our markets in like New York and Chicago and condensed areas are, you know, maybe more similar, but we're just so much more spread out. It makes things trickier. We've got a few more grocery stores, but are you guys building that? Is it something that's unique to screen pages in the queuing software, or do you guys have it down pat? So I know one of the things that you're doing for these smaller merchants on the spin ups and, you know, helping these customers, do you kind of have that turnkey and ready for if it's the right fit for needing that?
Yes, absolutely. It's very easy to put queuing software in place. So it's something that any agency can do. So we've done it in the past before all of this happened for clients who were selling, let's say we have certain clients who are selling collectible trainers. In the UK, we call them trainers. You call them sneakers, don't you?
Yep.
So, you know, these one-off, you know, items, $600, and there's only 200 of them from Nike produced, and, you know, everybody piles in at the same time and tries to order them, you know, and so we've implemented queuing systems for some of our merchants before to address those sorts of issues. So it's not difficult to do at all. It's something you should definitely talk to your agency about, and it's something that you, the merchant, can switch off and on and control. So it's not something that you would have to sort of get your agency to control for you.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen them on like sneakers or like fashion websites when like a new clothing item drops, but it's really cool to see kind of a practical world application of it, besides, you know, buying a $600 pair of trainers.
Which I don't think that anybody will be queuing to buy those at the moment.
That's a vertical that, you know, we've seen a little slower than others, you know, that's so.
So anyway, I'm just conscious of the time, Quentin. So I was going to ask you to finish up. What do you recommend people do if they want to talk to you about how you can help them streamline their fulfillment processes, or if they want to talk to you about offline to on in more detail? Who should they contact? What's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that, you know, please feel free to contact us. You go to shipperhq.com or offline2on.com. But I'm going to write my email address on a sticky note. I'm going to hold it up. I have terrible handwriting, but this is my personal email address. So
we will publish this when we post this on our blog.
Can you see this? Am I good?
Very good, Quentin.
Okay, good. My handwriting's terrible, so I was really nervous about how bad it was going to look.
It's better than mine.
I didn't want it to look like it said "help me" or something.
No, so yeah, and the same, similar with us, we'll be publishing your email address anyway, and we'll put a link to your website so that
Love
they can
it.
get more information. But yeah, if they need to get in touch with us, then similarly, I'm at sarah@screenpages.com. But like I said, we'll make sure that that's all available, so you don't have to quickly write things down. But
Absolutely.
I like the old school method.
Love it. And I have one tip that I actually thought of this morning, that because I actually did this, and talking about customers, small and large, and how do you compete with kind of the Nikes when you want to buy shoes. I am a millennial, so I can speak to my generation, and I can speak to the Gen Z, my little sister's age. Social media right now is really big because there's a lot of us that are phantom scrolling. We're sitting at home, we don't know what the hell to do with ourselves, so we're just scrolling Twitter, and then we close that, and then you scroll Instagram, and you close that, and you go to Facebook, and you scroll that, and then you go to LinkedIn. If you're really bored, you scroll that. Maybe you check your email, maybe you text back your uncle who's texting you. But getting your products on social media, if you have a brick and mortar store that just says, hey, contact us, like, using the right hashtags, and really getting on that, because I bought a new foam roller because it showed up on my LinkedIn, not my LinkedIn, sorry, it showed up on my Twitter. I was like, oh yeah, I need a new foam roller, and it showed up on my Instagram, and I was like, I do need a new foam roller. Then it showed up on my Facebook, and I was like, I gotta buy a new foam roller.
The key question is, how did they know you needed a new foam roller?
I have absolutely no idea, Sarah. You were smarter than me, so you could tell me on that.
That's the scary question. All right, but that's a good tip. Good tip. Yeah. I think this may be where social comes into play finally in terms of generating orders for merchants. So
it's no longer just the fly buzzing around the room. I think it's a real way to actually drive traffic.
Yeah, I think you're right. So anyway, thanks very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No, that's great. So we'll be putting this out, obviously, and you'll get a copy as well. But thank you very much for taking the time to explain what you do to our listeners.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing about bringing customers online. It's really amazing. And please stay safe over in the UK.
Yeah, you too. And happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.